First up, of course, we have Mariah Carey. Even if you're not familiar with many of JLo's feuds, I'm sure you know that Mariah Carey hates her. That's because Mariah has not been shy about throwing shade in her direction. These two have been feuding ever since JLo started to make music, and started to steal her shine. Then when Mariah was asked about Lopez in an interview, she famously replied, quote, "I don't know her." Years later, when Andy Cohen brought up the beef on his show Watch What Happens Live in 2014, Jennifer Lopez played the whole thing off, saying, quote, "I don't have a feud against her at all. I know from back in the day, I've read things that she said about me that were not the greatest, but we have never met. Like, we don't know each other. I would love to meet her, and I would love to be friends with her." But then JLo was a little more savage on the Wendy Williams show when asked about the feud in 2016. Lopez said, quote, "She's forgetful, I guess. We've met so many times." But Carey doubled down in another interview where she added that she still doesn't know Jennifer Lopez. When Mariah had a mishap of her own during a disastrous New Year's Eve performance, Lopez took a break from the high road and liked an extremely shady tweet about Mariah. The tweet said, quote, "Ever seen an accident you couldn't take your eyes away from? That was her tonight." If you're wondering where this feud started, it all goes back to Mariah's ex-husband and music executive, Tommy Mottola. After getting married in 1993, Carey divorced Mottola in 1998 because he was very controlling. And to get back at her, Mottola started up JLo's career and did everything possible to make JLo a star, instead of Mariah. JLo sampled a number of Mariah-esque songs. There were even allegations she straight up copied some of Mariah's songs, but tried to make them more of a hit. All because of Mottola. But Mariah knows she still came out on top, adding, quote, "After all that shit, Loverboy ended up being the best-selling single of 2001 in the United States." So basically the whole feud is over career competition and the fact that Lopez was in cahoots with Carey's controlling ex. Rosie Perez. You'd think that JLo and Rosie Perez would be great friends, considering how much they have in common. Both women are dancers, are Puerto Rican, and grew up in New York. But the pair are not close, and it would be more accurate to say that they actually hate each other. According to Perez's 2014 memoir, Handbook for an Unpredictable Life, she has plenty of negative stories to share about JLo. In her memoir, Perez shared a story from the set of In Living Color. She wrote about Lopez, quote, "All of the girls were coming into my office complaining how she was manipulating wardrobe, makeup, and me, all to her advantage," and added she was acting like, quote, "some ghetto bitch," screaming and pounding her chest. JLo ended up leaving that show after 2 seasons, but the feud between the pair continued, and Perez claimed that Lopez would speak negatively about her whenever she got the chance. Even worse, Lopez was allegedly two-faced. She would talk trash behind Perez's back, but be nice to her face. Brandy. In the midst of the Mariah and JLo feud, Brandy publicly supported Mariah, making it clear she does not like JLo. In July of 2017, Brandy took to Instagram to share a photo of herself hugging Mariah Carey with the caption, #SheKnows Me, an obvious reference to Mariah's infamous "I don't know her" comment about JLo. All the comments were flooded with people speculating over the caption, and the consensus quickly became that the photo was a dig at JLo. However, Brandy later addressed the caption, writing, quote, "Oh my god, what happened? I swear to goodness, I didn't know what the fuss is about. I love this pic and now everyone thinks I'm throwing shade. At who? This is funny. Can't take this one down. I love this picture and whenever I'm throwing shade, it's not questionable, you know that I am." Later adding that Mariah does in fact know her. Mariah supported the post by commenting, quote, "I sure do." Even though Brandy is trying to convince us it's nothing shady, I honestly don't believe it. Next up, Nicki Minaj. It's long been rumored that Jennifer Lopez is a huge diva, and the fight that her and Nicki Minaj had while on American Idol brought up both of their diva sides. In 2012, Lopez was a judge on American Idol while Nicki came on to perform, and things got tense fast. After Nicki finished performing, she went over to the judges table and asked, quote, "I was hoping maybe I could come back and be a guest judge. JLo, can you scoot over a little bit?" JLo then responded, quote, "I don't know if there's enough room for both of us." Then Minaj took it up another notch backstage when she said, quote, "She didn't seem to be having it, but she's gonna have it." But she later added, quote, "We were just joking around." But it's clear the bad blood is still there. When Lopez performed at the 2015 AMAs, she sang a part of Minaj's song Anaconda, but I don't think Nicki got the memo that it was going to be happening, because when the camera panned to Nicki, she did not look happy. Fans totally saw the shade and started tweeting about it that night. Rihanna. Rihanna and JLo started feuding right around the time that JLo was seen getting cozy with Rihanna's ex, Drake. This all happened in 2016 when J-Lo and Drake took a photo backstage at J-Lo's concert. Once the photos came out, everyone assumed that they were dating, which probably got the attention of his exes. A lot of fans felt the whole thing was most likely a publicity stunt, but Rihanna took the rumors pretty seriously and lashed out online because of it. A source said at the time that Rihanna suffered, quote, the ultimate betrayal and dubbed Lopez desperate and a traitor. This was because Rihanna and J-Lo were really tight at one point, and Rihanna even got support from J-Lo during rough times with Drake. Then in December of 2016, Rihanna unfollowed J-Lo on Instagram, making her stance very clear. Jenna Dewan. When the pair started alongside each other on World of Dance, they seemed like they got along great. Lopez was a producer and a judge, while Dewan was a host and mentor on the show. But sources revealed that when the camera stopped rolling, the women hated each other. One source said about their relationship, quote, Jenna can't stand Jen's over-the-top theatrical fakery. Jen never fails to ham it up when the cameras are rolling, and she hijacks the show. It seems she'd prefer if Jenna just stayed in the background. The insider continued that J-Lo is a micromanager who tells everyone else what to do. Because of all her input, Jenna felt excluded and felt like her voice was not heard. Although there is a chance that this feud is not accurate because when Dewan's team was asked about the feud rumors, they denied them. Ojani Noah. Jennifer Lopez has been married 3 times before. Her first and shortest marriage was to Cuban waiter Ojani Noah. Although their relationship ended in 1998, it's clear that Noah cannot stand her, and whenever asked about Lopez, he does not hold back his negative feelings. Back in 2006, he was actually set to release a juicy tell-all book about Lopez called The Unknown Truth, a passionate portrait of a serial thriller. But before it was set to be published, Lopez was able to stop it with a lawsuit. She argued that publishing the book broke their confidentiality agreement, and the courts agreed. From that lawsuit, she won $545,000 in damages, and Noah was forbid from criticizing or casting in a negative light or otherwise disparaging Lopez. Noah's name was brought up once again when he threatened to leak an intimate tape of the two of them on their honeymoon. Lopez then filed a $10 million lawsuit against him. When asked why the relationship ended, Noah blamed Lopez, saying, quote, I was looking forward to being with her for the rest of my life. It didn't happen. She made the choice of her career instead of me. And finally, Jennifer Lopez herself. Nobody has done more to warn us about J-Lo's sketchy behavior than herself, and some of the things she's done in the past are too terrible to ignore. Back when she tried to score a role in competition with actress Claire Danes, J-Lo said some harsh things about her competition, saying that Claire Danes does the quote, same thing with every character she does. Then Lopez bashed Winona Ryder, saying that she was not a big fan of her work. And finally, Lopez took aim at Gwyneth Paltrow, saying, quote, tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work. Then in a different interview, Lopez decided to take aim at Madonna, specifically bashing Madonna's attempt at acting. Quote, do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft. Aside from dishing out unnecessary shade to other celebrities, Lopez also has a reputation for being incredibly rude to service people. One United Airlines employee told the press how much of a diva she was during her flight. Apparently, he asked if she wanted a drink, and she replied, quote, I just said, what can I get you to drink? But Jennifer refused to even acknowledge me. She turned her head away and told her personal assistant, please tell him I'd like a Diet Coke and lime. Even though the stewardess was trying to serve her what she wanted, she refused to look, and made her assistant speak for her. It's so ridiculous and an unnecessary power play. But this interaction is nothing compared to the maid that was fired for asking J-Lo for an autograph. The maid later spoke with media and said she asked J-Lo's 2 assistants, who rejected the autograph. Then a day later, the hotel said that Lopez complained about the incident, and that maid was fired.
Madonna. Superstar Madonna has been in the game since the 80s and established plenty of enduring relationships with other entertainers who've come before and after her. But that doesn't mean she hasn't had her moments where she's thrown someone the cold shoulder. In this case, Jennifer Lopez definitely deserved it because she dissed Madonna's whole career in that infamous movie line interview in 1998. Lopez was 27 at the time and fresh off the success of her film Selena. It was then that she decided to boast about her own talent in comparison to Madonna. Quote, do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. She also added, quote, acting is what I do. So I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft. Those comments were pretty bad considering that Madonna has been a star for a lot longer than J-Lo, and at the time of the interview, there was almost no comparison between them. It seems like Madonna held on to those remarks for quite some time, because in 2009, she went on David Letterman and implied that Lopez tries to copy her by studying her looks on stage. Gwyneth Paltrow. At the time, Lopez was still fresh off the success of Selena and Anaconda, and she was explaining how she felt she was grouped into what she called the bottom of the A-list actresses. Paltrow was a star on the rise at the time, with many films under her belt such as Seven, Great Expectations, and Shakespeare in Love, which earned her a Best Actress Oscar in 1999. When Lopez was asked about Paltrow, she almost seemed to laugh and made it clear that she didn't take her fellow actress's career seriously. Quote, "Tell me what she's been in? I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work. If you have the goods, there's nothing to be afraid of. If somebody doesn't have the goods, they're insecure. I don't have that problem." Although Paltrow took the high road and never publicly criticized the star, when J-Lo started dating her ex-boyfriend Ben Affleck, she was reportedly very upset about the pairing and said that she didn't think Jennifer is right for him. It's easy to see why she felt that way. Scott Barnes. If you want to see just how long Lopez can hold a grudge, just ask celebrity makeup artist Scott Barnes, who's worked for her for the past 20 years. It's important to note that not all of J-Lo's feuds and shade throwing has been directed towards the rich and famous. The star essentially banished her longtime makeup artist Scott Barnes after rumors surfaced that someone had leaked info to the press about her and Mark Anthony's secret marriage ceremony. Speaking on the Jeff Probst show in 2012, Barnes revealed that the woman he considered a friend cast him aside for an entire year until it was confirmed that someone else was responsible for the leak. Quote, "It was like I had the plague." Interestingly enough, J-Lo did end up giving Barnes his old job back again after learning the truth, but apparently failed to apologize for being so cold and ruthless, which sounds exactly like something she would do. The celebrity makeup artist, who's also lent his talents to Hollywood stars, including Gwyneth Paltrow, added, quote, "I went right back to work with her, and we just never spoke about it again, which is even weirder." The funny thing is, Barnes would go on to work with her for another 6 years and insisted that they remained on good terms, despite the fact that she ghosted him. He wasn't even guilty of the leak, but she cut him out of her life for a whole year. Talk about insanity. Salma Hayek. In that same interview from 1998, Lopez did not enjoy being compared to Salma Hayek. Quote, "We're in two different realms. She's a sexy bombshell, and those are the kinds of roles that she does. I do all kinds of different things." And as if trashing her career wasn't enough, the supremely confident Lopez also claimed that Hayek had been telling a few lies about the fact that she had been offered the lead role of Selena, the 1997 film based on the life of slain Texas-born superstar Selena Quintanilla. She went on to say, quote, "It makes me laugh when she says she got offered Selena, which is an outright lie. If that's what she does to get herself publicity, then that's her thing." The comments were incredibly rude and ignorant of J-Lo, even though she claimed they were taken out of context in an interview that she did a few years later. But in 2020, Salma Hayek opened up to Andy Cohen on Watch What Happens Live, saying that in the 90s she was offered the role of Selena before Jennifer Lopez, but she turned it down. Quote, "They offered it to me like a week after she died. It was a little distasteful. They were already planning on making this movie." So it goes to show you how gracious Salma Hayek is, because she wanted to be respectful to Selena's passing. Ashanti. While Jennifer Lopez has landed herself several platinum-selling hits since her rise to fame with her debut album, she is no stranger to causing controversy regarding how she ends up getting her songs. While Ashanti has never openly admitted to sharing a feud with Jennifer Lopez, the R&B songstress has certainly hinted that she was often overlooked because of the success. Aside from being accused of stealing the same sample song that Mariah Carey used for her song Loverboy in the same year, Lopez was also given songs that were initially intended for Ashanti, which left Ashanti feeling irritated given that she had just landed her first taste of success in the music industry around that same time. Then in September of 2001, Lopez released I'm Real, lifted from her second studio album with Gotti. But He eventually handed the track over to Lopez even though the song was already recorded and mixed with Ashanti's vocals, which is why you still hear her background vocals in Lopez's version. Ashanti said, quote, "It felt bittersweet because I was really excited because it was with J-Lo, you know what I mean? But I was so mad at Irv because I was like, you know I wanted that record." The whole situation between the two stars always seems bizarre and unfair, and many people believe that J-Lo outright stole Ashanti's vocals and passed them off as her own. Usher. J-Lo and Usher had a pretty big feud in 2005 over alleged music theft. The star had been accused of stealing or borrowing background tracks and vocals from other artists for years, and Usher had something to say about this. He claimed that his R&B rival stole a song that he cast aside while recording the hugely successful album Confessions. Usher said that J-Lo's single Get Right is actually a re-recorded version of Ride, a song that he co-wrote last year, which was only available online. When asked about the whole ordeal, the then 26-year-old said, quote, "I hate it, but I'd better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right, but I didn't expect J-Lo to just take it." In fact, this whole situation was partly due to producer Rich Harrison, who co-wrote the track with Usher and later decided to use it during recording sessions for J-Lo's upcoming album Rebirth, using the exact same vocal pattern. So J-Lo's song Get Right is actually a reworking of a beat Usher had created for his own album. When he scrapped his song Ride, parts of it made it into Jennifer's track and created one of the biggest dance floor hits ever. At least Usher was vocal about it, and as a result chose not to work with J-Lo for several years following. Howard Stern. The controversial radio host Howard Stern is J-Lo's biggest critic and just doesn't understand her appeal. He said so himself on his super popular radio show. Not only isn't he a fan of her music, but Stern has publicly claimed that Jennifer's been rude to him on multiple occasions, despite his friendship with people close to her, saying that he does not respect her stuck-up attitude. One of the main reasons why Lopez will never go on the Howard Stern show is because he has attacked everything from her career choices to her appearance. Both were judges on America's Got Talent at the same time, and in a red carpet interview with HLN in 2012, he said that Jennifer Lopez was more interested in promoting her career than being a proper judge. Quote, "It helped her career. She got very far. She suddenly got back on the charts and the show was good for her, and it became more about J-Lo." In 2016, Howard compared J-Lo's music to that of a homeless woman who sang a nonsensical song, and as a prank, Howard's staff took the song to pedestrians on the street and tried to pass it off as her latest hit. One of the harshest things he's ever said though was during an interview with J-Lo's ex P. Diddy, where he slammed her looks by claiming that Diddy got out at the right time due to her aging. Eva Mendes. There was a time where Eva Mendes and J-Lo comparisons were inevitable. Similar to Lopez, Eva's career began in the 90s. She started out featuring in music videos with stars like Will Smith, Aerosmith, and Pet Shop Boys. They were both Latina actors making waves in the entertainment industry in the 2000s. They've both dated A-listers and starred in big-budget blockbusters, delivering standout performances that stole the show. However, when these similarities were brought to Eva's attention, the actress was very offended at the idea and felt that it was insulting to be compared to Lopez at all. In fact, Eva even felt that her approach to acting was more serious than Lopez's in a major way, and added that J-Lo manages her career like a business as opposed to caring about her art. Quote, "I would like to think I will have a more serious career than J-Lo. We may be both of Latin origin, but that's where the comparisons stop. She manages her career like the head of a big corporation, whereas the only thing I care about is becoming the best actress possible."
While she claims to be the girl next door, J-Lo is best known to be a diva behind a doorknob. But is that the real reason celebrities and everyday folks alike avoid working with this star? Well, if the foundations of your success can be attributed to the chairman of Sony Music using you to piss piss off his ex-wife, one could say you may not have earned your place in the industry, aka J-Lo's sabotage startup. For those out of the loop, Mariah Carey's the ex-wife of former Sony chairman Tommy Antola, and they had a contentious divorce, during which J-Lo was a rookie newly signed to the label. She was young, she was pretty, and she was absolutely desperate, so Mottola used J-Lo as his pawn against Mariah. Mottola tried to sabotage Carey's Glitter soundtrack, and to quote Mariah herself, after hearing my new song using the same sample I used, Sony rushed to make a single for another female entertainer on their label, whom I don't know. A reference, of course, to the famous quote Mariah had made about J-Lo years prior. Carey knows that she got the last laugh, however. To quote, all of that Loverboy ended up being the best-selling single of 2001 in the United States. Mottola, however, did find success in damaging Mariah's career and exasperating J-Lo's in the process. By feeding her successful samples and lyrics for her to repurpose, it worked so well that J-Lo just kept stealing from other artists. It's part of the reason she's so hated. She profited heavily off of black underground artists, either by literally using their vocals or by taking and rewriting their songs with slightly differing lyrics. Said artists were Shante Moore, Christina Milian, Usher, Mariah Carey, and of course Ashanti, the biggest victim of J-Lo's music theft. She stole from all of those artists and more, and sometimes not even just once. Her history of profiting off of black artists and music is well known and extremely problematic. In fact, it got so bad, artists would start leaking their own music so J-Lo couldn't steal it. No artist wants to work with someone who can only be titled and artist themselves because they steal from others, especially if they're massively egotistical about it. Because J-Lo in her mind is a mastercraft. She's the world's best dancer. She's the world's best actress and singer and performer. Having confidence is one thing, but being self-obsessed is another. Back in 2021, a string of articles came out about how the self-glorifying J-Lo actually burnt bridges with celebrity acquaintances with her behavior. To quote, everyone in J-Lo's life has to accept it's about her pretty much all of the time, or they simply won't be tolerated in the first place, spilt an insider to the Globe. But lately it's gotten boring for the likes of Lee Remini, Beyonce and Jay-Z, Demi Lovato, Gwyneth Paltrow, and others because of her non-stop me conversations. The source, an alleged fired house staffer, also added that J-Lo is standoffish and cool and never asks others what they're doing and isn't interested to know. She won't even hug them for fear it'll spoil her makeup. Yeah, there's having confidence. Then there's having arrogance, as Jennifer Lopez has walked a dangerous tightrope between the two for literal years. Traditionally, it's the people, it's Hollywood, their press, the movie-going public that determines who is an A-list star, not the star themselves. But during her literally renowned, famous 1998 Movie Line interview, J-Lo yeeted tradition and declared herself an A-lister. When Movie Line asked Lopez why she believed she was hot in Hollywood at the time, she responded candidly with, "Because I'm the best, and I feel I can do anything." Because I'm the best? Having too much belief in your own abilities inevitably gets under the skin of colleagues and viewers alike. Lopez even then went on to claim that she had something called the stardom glow, but not everyone saw it that way. Sure, 1998 was a good year for her, veteran film critic Roger Ebert even praising J-Lo for the Selena biopic, but praises like that went right to Lopez's head before she fell off in 2003. Despite that, J-Lo ultimately isn't a horrific actress, but she isn't a great one either. So, how does she still land roles evidently not made for her? Flirty fishing. You always flirt with your co-stars. It's harmless, Lopez told Movie Line in 1998, and it's most definitely not, especially if that workplace is a movie set and millions of dollars are at stake. Directors are gonna get nervous about their actors flirting. So how does J-Lo then deal with that? She flirts with them too. To quote her, "That's the best way to deal with these big wigs," she said to Movie Line when they asked about her relationship with the U-Turn director Oliver Stone. "I just went in there and we hit it off and I flirted with him, got tough with him, and he just loved it." Now can you imagine if the roles was reversed and a man who had just said that quote was saying it about female co-stars and directors? Let's hold women accountable for using their sexuality to also pressure and discomfort others into giving them what they want, shall we? That's not cool, J-Lo. And speaking of not cool, if she ain't flirting with the male co-stars, she's victimizing the starlets. J-Lo has a mean streak and competitive side. Pair that with ego and self-pedestalization, it makes sense she'd say such things as Tell Me What She's Been In about Gwyneth Paltrow in 1998, months before Paltrow would literally win the Best Actress award. And she also tacked on Some People Get Hot by Association. I heard more about Gwen and Brad than I ever heard about her work. These quotes were pulled from the famous 1998 Movie Line interview after she was asked what she thought of actresses she was competing with for roles. She then went on to say Romeo and Juliet star Claire Danes does the same thing with every character, and that she was never a big fan of two-time Oscar nominee Winona Ryder. What did she think of Cameron Diaz? A lucky model who's been given a lot of opportunities. I just wish she would have done more with them. And when talking about Madonna and the insane success of 1996's Evita, she scoffs and shares her opinion of the literal queen of pop. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting's what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft. Your craft, J-Lo? Bit of a stretch for someone who bit the hand that fed her. And I'm talking about Rosie Perez, because J-Lo wouldn't have a career without her. Perez was the choreographer at an open casting call for In Living Color in 1991. While the show's creator called J-Lo a chubby and corny looking girl, Rosie saw potential in her dancing and was adamant they give her a chance. But then writes in her autobiography that soon all of the girls are coming into my office complaining about how J-Lo was manipulating wardrobe, makeup, and me all to her advantage. Perez then added when she confronted Lopez, she reacted like, quote, some ghetto biatch, screaming and pounding her chest and yelling at Perez, I know I'm good, I'm better than any of these girls and you know it. Lopez leaves In Living Color just after 2 seasons, but once she makes it big in Hollywood, she went on a smear campaign and making disparaging comments about Perez, who she owes her career to. Stories like this make it obvious that J-Lo treats people pretty poorly, which means that her staff has it tough. Be prepared to be on call 24/7 to carry her to her every women need. And unless you are one or two of the staff who are very senior, don't even expect her to acknowledge you. One staff member said it was like working for a ghost. In 2022, amid a TikTok storm of fans sharing negative encounters with Lopez, TikTok user Kyla shares how her father worked for a driving company and he refused to drive for J-Lo after learning what the rules are for it. She doesn't allow the drivers to look at her or talk to her. They're not allowed to let her luggage touch the ground, and even if the driver looks in the rearview window, they could be subjected to a scolding. That's believable since a woman on Quora, Emily Watford, shared her experience working in a concert arena and literally watching a doorman get fired for making eye contact with J-Lo. According to Today Mag, J-Lo requires her nannies to work grueling hours every day of the week. Quote, normally people who have huge sums of money and have loads of professional and social obligations hire a nanny for each child, especially newborns. But it's as if Jennifer expects one nanny to not only take care of both twins, but to work 16-hour days, 7 days a week, as told to the National Enquirer. Really, just pity anyone like a maid or an airline attendant that comes within her orbit. I mean, she's going to ignore you as rudely as possible. Take the United Airlines first class attendant who merely asked J-Lo what she would like to drink. To quote him, Jennifer refused to even acknowledge me. She turned her head away and told her personal assistant, please tell him I'd like a Diet Coke and lime. It gets a lot worse when you talk about the German hotel maid who dared to knock on her door and politely ask for an autograph. Named Pré Dodage, she said, it took all of my courage and I rang the bell to get an autograph, but I was rejected by 2 assistants at the door. A day later, the cleaning company that employed me called and said Miss Lopez has complained, and I was fired right there on the phone. Lopez then turned around and called the story hurtful and refuted she got anyone fired, but she didn't deny making the call. Anyways, I'd be mortified by something like that myself, but that's honestly J-Lo for you. That's how she treats people. She's completely shameless. This is a woman who will fire you for looking at her and has no concept of why that's not okay. A woman on TikTok, Julia Wang, shared her story of meeting one of J-Lo's backup dancers in Vegas concert where J-Lo was performing and shared how cruelly they were treated, saying if you were pretty or if you were Latina, it was like a game over. She hated you. Oh, J-Lo not being a girl's girl. Please, we've had that established since the Bash of 1998. Wang further went and claimed that J-Lo refused to talk or even look at the backups during their many hours of rehearsal time, except for the occasional eye roll or scoff, and that the only time her demeanor does a 180 is when that men walk into the room. She only treats women poorly because she views them as competition, which, as a woman, is the deadliest 7 sins of girl codes.